Hello, friends, and welcome to another edition of Transformational Astrology. I'm Henry Seltzer, and we want to take a look at this new moon that's coming up this weekend on Saturday. And so, without further ado, let's go there to the chart. Oh, so here you have Pluto selected. We don't have to do that. And here we have also quite a concentration of planets in Aries, not quite as many as we've had before. And something to note, which we'll get back to, is Chiron and Mars at 28 degrees of Aries are actually 28 degrees 24 minutes, both of them. So just as we have the sun and moon coming together to the minute, because this is the new moon at 1 p.m. actually on Saturday, May 16th, just as we have this very close conjunction, which we would expect between sun and moon, we also have the same degree and minute as far as Chiron and Mars. So I think that's kind of fascinating, and we'll have to talk about that. But the one thing before that I wanted to bring up is these outer planet configurations, the outer planet configuration between Uranus, Neptune, and Pluto, because if we were to check, this is the trine now, only 4 degrees or so, between Uranus and Pluto, and that gets tighter towards the summer. So this is kind of, to me, like the 60s when we have a Uranus-Pluto interaction like this. This one being a trine rather than the opposition or the conjunction, for example, that we saw during the 60s. But nonetheless, this is a combination of Uranus and Pluto, which is revolutionary, rebellious, trying to see different ways to go. The society is evolving, let's say. And Neptune is involved being pretty close to the midpoint. I can show you that in the TimePassages software. If we go to Special Reports, Midpoints, and we take a look at the midpoints for this chart, and we do look at Uranus, and look, let's see. No, that's Saturn. Here we have Uranus. If we look at Uranus with Pluto, here we go. It's at 3 degrees Aries, 19 minutes. So that is interesting in view of the fact that Neptune is at 3 degrees of Aries and 43 minutes, so about half a degree off of that. So very close, all this, and it gets even closer in the July time frame. So this is the 30-day cycle between the middle of May and the middle of June. By the time we get to July, which is only one more cycle, they are at 4 degrees, all three of these planets. And so we're seeing a time like we saw in the 60s. Rick Tarnas uses the dates of 1960 to 1972 with his way of calculating that for when Uranus and Pluto came together at that time. And these are getting very exact, and when they're exact is the strongest. So, we could look at this in a similar way, even though, of course, he uses that for the axial alignments, he calls it, which is either the conjunctions or the oppositions. Here we have a trine, so it's a little different. But I still say what we have going on is very much like the 60s. We have a very unpopular war. We have questions about where the government is leading us. We have questions about the economy and the priorities of the government in this situation. And we have protests, do we not? We have protests all over the place, and they're very strong right now, and they reflect the growing consciousness that maybe some of those priorities are not what we really believe should be the case. Now, getting back to this Chiron situation. So we have Chiron with Mars so close. Also, if we look, there's a sextile from the 28 degree 24 minute point to 27, which is only a degree off. And then the midpoint there, we have Mercury at 28. So that is a partile semi-sextile. And then that's very close to the new moon degree, only a few degrees away. So this is a very strong Mercury placement. I think I said a different thing a minute ago, but I meant Mercury. So Mercury is involved and also conjunct Uranus very significantly. What comes into this also is Saturn and also Jupiter. It turns out that Saturn, if we look at just the aspects to Saturn, we can see, I didn't get Saturn. There we go. We can see that Saturn is actually, it's a septile within a degree to Uranus, and then there's another septile from Uranus. If I go here, just the aspects to Uranus, we can see there's another septile to Jupiter, 1.3. So we are, and by the way, that septile to Jupiter, which is 1.3 in this particular, from 1 degree here, at the midpoint of that Mercury and Uranus, that Mercury-Uranus midpoint is 29 degrees 55 minutes, and the septile is 51 degrees 26 minutes. And so if we take the 5 minutes off, that's 51:21. And 51:21, when you subtract the 30 from the 0 point we were working from, that's 21. So this is another one that's very exact to the minute, the midpoint of Mercury and Uranus as a septile to Jupiter. So in short, this brings Jupiter in. So we have Saturn, we have Mercury, Uranus, and we have Jupiter all brought together. And incidentally, if we look at the declinations here as well, the declination of Mercury turns out to be 20 degrees and 23 minutes, or 20.4. And if we look at Uranus, 20 degrees, 13 minutes, or 20.2. So very close parallel, conjunct, septile to Saturn and septile to Jupiter, exact to the midpoint. So this is a very strong Mercury. The consciousness of what we have going on deep inside ourselves, you see, which is the partile, semi-sextile here, very strong. So we are invited, I believe, in this context, in this timing, when we can't really completely control anything in the outer world, we have to just kind of watch and wait, and we don't know where that's going, which is frustrating, which is part of the painful situation. There's a very painful situation worldwide now with the economy as it is, with the question marks on 2 wars that are seemingly without an exit point. So it's a bad timing in terms of what's going on in the outer world, but maybe we can make hay by studying what's going on within us, deep within us. If we can make progress on our own inner wounding, that's one progress we can make. And just recognizing also that we're on an evolutionary path here, that we are all striving to be more conscious. You know, we have a lot of Mercury here, which is conscious, and more enabled to just kind of roll with it, because really everything is about story, and who knows what the real story is. And what the real story could be is that we understand that things are happening for a purpose. There's a point to it. There's a progress here. There's an evolutionary process within the culture that we're in, and also within ourselves, to try to become our most authentic version of ourselves that we can muster. And that's what we can be working on continually, and really in a way, in a sort of holographic fashion, that saves the world, because we're making progress with it within ourselves, and everybody else is in that same environment, same vibe, you could say. There's ripples from consciousness that go to everything. So we can always, even though we don't seem to have much that we can do on the outer front, or at least not until the November elections when we can vote, which might help, we are, committed to what's going on within ourselves. And once we can tune into that and make some effort there and try to get a little more clear on what we're up to, each one of us, ourselves individually, look at our inner wounding, accept it in recognition, and also loving acceptance, and reaching down a hand to that hurt place within us, which we shouldn't shun, we shouldn't avoid, we shouldn't feel we don't want to go there. from shame or from just the pain of it, but recognizing it's all part of life, and it is our evolutionary responsibility to take a look at ourselves and see where we can do better, see where we can kind of, without blame or judgment, correct some of the past and maybe make repair if we need to, or do what we can to understand in a dispassionate way that that is what happened and just accept it, but work with it and see if we can do even better. So I think that's the prescription with this complicated and really intense configuration, which, by the way, I could show you also. It does involve, not only is Eris is involved in the fact that it's exactly semi-sextile to the new moon, 25 degrees of Aries versus 25 degrees of Taurus. But it's also involved by only less than 3 degrees separate from the Chiron, which is also involved with Mars, which a lot of energy there, and a lot of understanding that our actions may have consequences, unintended consequences. There is a fear there, I think, too, exposed in this close conjunction, that our actions may be harmful in some way, and if we can work on trying to make them less harmful, that's progress. So it's all very intense, isn't it, in here? And what we can see also with, if I were to look at the aspects to Saturn, for example, now Saturn is involved, and so that slows us down and makes us think, and we have a chance to take lessons from what's going on. And Saturn is exactly opposite to Maki-Maki, and Maki-Maki is one of these two new nature planets, I call them, profound connection to nature, both Haumea and Maki-Maki, and Maki-Maki more the activist. So I really do believe this is another sign, being in the new moon, that the activism we've been seeing will continue, that also our understanding of what the truth is and what the lie is will become more revealed, because when we look at also the position of Haumea here, we see that it is still square to Pluto, which brings out the lie. We can see where the gaslighting has been going on, and try to see how that really makes sense and see it coming out, seeing the truth come out, which is on a number of fronts we're seeing that. And then, the fact that we have also the Yod from Uranus and Neptune, which is a spiritual connection to this inner sense of what's the right thing, what's the kind thing, how can we do it a little bit better, how can we see what the truth really is. So, because we have, you see the inconjunct from 3-degree position and 1-degree position. By the way, the midpoint is at 2. So there's a 2-degree Taurus midpoint, which is exactly opposite by degree, same degree, to Haumea. So all of these outer planets, and these are the new 21st century outer planets that I've been referring to here, they all contribute to the sense of process that we're trying to get to, really the evolutionary progress that we know we can make. And it depends on counting on the fact that the universe is there to really help us, that it's not all for nothing, it all has a point to it. The very fact of astrology works tells us that. We're looking at a mystical result here when we look at the patterning of the planets, which are just in their orbits, and we can read it and see what it really implies for us. So very intense new moon coming up, intense 30 days following, leading to the summer, which is also very difficult perhaps, but it's all something we can take advantage of when we can look inside ourselves. So let's go ahead and transition back. And I hope that was helpful. I hope it's helpful to recognize that we're all part of some pattern, that we can take our own point of it, and it's like a holographic factor that we get our own act together, and it helps other people to get theirs. And it helps the world along the path, the Martin Luther King quote that the arc of history is long, but it bends toward justice. And let's see if we can individually help with that any way we can. So I say best of luck. See you next time. Take care.